Good morning. It is a very dreary morning here in New York City. It was snowing earlier, so I'm not sure what we have in store, but good morning. This is Cate Luzio, founder and CEO of Luminary and host of Goaldigger on LinkedIn, Finding Your Voice. And as many of you know, if you watch, listen, or have seen in the past, we really love to amplify stories of all women across all backgrounds, levels, titles, everything that they do. And we're starting to do more with our own members, in particular, our ambassadors. And we have one incredible woman, leader, mom, business owner, badass, Conchetta Roz, which I'm happy to welcome today to Goaldigger. So good morning.
Hi, Kate. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me today.
So, a little background on Conchetta, and I don't know if many people know this. When we opened Luminary, our physical doors, God, I mean, that would have been December of 2018. Conchetta was the first member to walk in the door, and everyone on my team was like, "Oh my God, there's someone here!" So I remember we took a picture, and it was just incredible because you walk in and you just had so much love and light and energy, and we were like, "This is what we're building." Do you remember that?
I totally remember. I think it was like November 28th or 29th.
Oh, we had just soft launched.
It could have been like 2 years to the day. Yeah. And a girlfriend had told me about Luminary. I had just started my company probably about a year prior and was working from home, was doing fine. And then she told me about Luminary and I checked it out online. I was like, this looks really beautiful. And I was like, I'll totally check it out. And I came to the space that morning, and it was the first time I saw the space in person. And I was, of course, blown away because it's so gorgeous. And then I just became like a fixture, like another piece of furniture in the space. Like, really just took advantage of Luminary, the space, and all of the, both the physical space and the community in and of itself was just amazing. And I've been a proud member and ambassador and advocate for everything Luminary ever since.
You really have, and it's just so. As I was thinking, I was like, wait a second. I literally remember that actual day. I was sitting in my normal spot in the kitchen, and here you come, and you look so cute. And everybody's like, also my team's like, look how cute her outfit is. And we were talking about your hair, as women do, right? But let's get into you because you have such the interesting background, career pivots, multi pivots in 1 year, and you're a working single mom of two gorgeous and smart twin girls. Mm-hmm. So it would be great for our listeners and whoever's watching just to hear a bit about you and your background and what led you to your story today, which we'll get into as well.
Sure. Thank you. I am a mom of twin girls. They're 8 years old and we live in Brooklyn. I actually own two businesses. So I founded a company called Upward On 3 years ago. And I founded that company. It's a recruitment firm. And my focus is the real estate industry, which was my background prior to starting that company. I also own a skincare business with Rodan and Fields. And I lead a team of consultants all over the United States and Canada. So that is another business that keeps me very busy. But I wasn't always an entrepreneur. I wasn't always a business owner. I really came from the corporate world. I spent 20 plus years in executive management within the real estate industry here in New York City. And that was really my background. I managed people. I recruited talent, looked for talent. I always had a knack for finding and developing talent. So that's what I did for the majority of my career. And I loved that. I loved just helping people bring the best out in themselves and teaching them how to become successful realtors. So I did that for about 15 plus years. And I was working for a real estate developer. I did something a little bit different, and I was overseeing a large portfolio of property in Manhattan. And while I loved what I did, I had the VP title and all of the prestige that comes with that. I really felt like I was missing something. I wanted a chance to connect with people. I also wanted to do something for me.
Yeah.
So that's when I started my business with Rodan and Fields, which was kind of crazy because I had no background in skincare, no interest in skincare, but I loved the business model. I loved the story. If for those who are watching that don't know much about it, the doctors who created Proactive are the women behind Rodan and Fields, Dr. Cate Rodan and Dr. Kathy Fields, and they created a incredible brand that allows people to become their own bosses and really build something around their busy lives and their busy, whether they're looking to re-enter the workforce or looking for something else or a plan B. That's what they do. And it was because of that business that I kind of caught the entrepreneurial bug and was able to eventually come up with the idea to start my own brand and launched Upward On, and it all came full circle.
So I'm going to kind of dig into a couple of these things. One is being this working mom. Two is the Rodan and Fields journey, and also Upward On. But I want to start with Rodan and Fields because let's myth bust, right? Because I think there's still this of you, and I honestly didn't know that much about it until I met you, and I knew people that were doing Rodan and Fields, and there's this, oh, it's multi-level marketing, it's a pyramid scheme, I get hooked and then I have to keep buying. But that's kind of what people think about, right? When they think of some of these, it's like the old, Avon, Mary Kay, Tupperware. Yeah. But the business model that they have set up, and I've talked about it, especially like how they get ambassadors and people just love this product. What makes it so different from, and why did you do it versus there's lots of other things people can do as they're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
Sure. Well, it's interesting because I knew about the company. My friend Miriam, who brought the opportunity to me, she had started it way before I did. And she had also worked in real estate and she left her corporate job. So I thought, well, that's great for her. Good for her, and that's what a lot of people think. And I had the preconceived notion of, it's kind of like an Avon. I'm going to have to bother my friends. Yeah. That's not for me. But when I actually talked to Miriam and listened to what the doctors were doing and what their platform was and how it was different, I understood it was a very different kind of company. In the days of Avon or Mary Kay, you'd have to do parties at home, you'd have to invite your friends, and you have to get everybody to buy and do all of that. Yeah. But now in this digital world, especially because of the fact that everyone is shopping online, everyone is everyone wants a recommendation. What the doctors realized back in 2007, because they were originally in the retail stores, they were part of the Estee Lauder, very traditional model. And back in 2007, retail was dying, and they would go to the stores and just see like no one was shopping. And with the rise of social media, with the rise of people shopping online, Amazon, and just the way of the world was changing, they were really visionaries, and they thought, we should create a platform where we reward people that are using these products, because they, through research and through just talking to the people that were using the product, they were discovering that people were coming to them not because of the saleswomen in the store, but because of a word of mouth recommendation. And so they've taken this very organic way that we shop, an organic way that we just live. I mean, anytime someone has something that they love, they rave about it, whether it's a restaurant or a book. And it's the same kind of concept. You use something you love, you tell your friends, and because of the platform of social media, digital, and also this virtual world. I mean, I have business partners in Canada. I have business partners all over the US, as well as customers. And we have been a virtual company for years. I've been
Right.
using Zoom since I started. So when this shift happened this year, it was just another day for us. It was just business as usual because we were already doing virtual events. We were already having virtual trainings and doing everything online. So we were ahead of the curve in terms of both from a selling platform as well as a communications platform. So that's what I saw as being different back when the opportunity was presented to me back in 2017. I thought, this is a tech company, kind of, it's very edgy, it's very disruptive. I love the model, I love their vision. At the time, we were in 2 countries, and now we're in 4, launched in Australia and Japan. And if you look at what happened with Proactive was in over 100 companies, and that's the goal with this company, is to go global, and you can create a platform, a brand, an organization, if you will, all over the world. So that's what excited me about it. And I just took the virtual, digital, and the technological aspect of this business and thought, this is an awesome opportunity. So that's why I jumped in and ran with it.
And it's a community, right? I mean, they're not only the women that are running their businesses, right? And I see this on social, especially. I have a friend from high school. Her name's Dana Casuccio. She's been doing Rodan and Fields as well for a long time. That she lives in New Jersey, and then I didn't know much about it really until I met you. But it's a community of women business owners, right? But also a community just of women supporting each other.
That is true. And the other interesting thing that I love about the community is, besides the fact that everyone is just really nice. I mean, you're just working with people that are positive, that are uplifting, and that really just want good, both, for their friends and for their loved ones and for each other. I mean, we're all here and we all uplift each other. And that's an amazing feeling, especially coming from a corporate world where you never know, like, who's your friend and who's trying to one up you. It's not like that in this type of community. And then the other thing was the caliber of people that are involved in this type of business. I mean, there are women on my team that are ER doctors, that are lawyers, that come from, a very high level corporate background, making multiple 6 figures, and they leave that behind because they want something different. They want to create something for themselves, and this allows you to do that and really lean into all of the resources that the company provides. They do all of the hard stuff, the business, the research and development, and the formulation of these incredible products and the technological platforms that they provide us. So I love the fact that the women I work with are really just the best of the best, and that really is refreshing.
So diverse, right?
Very diverse.
One of the things that I've noticed over the almost 2 years that I've known you and that you've been engaged in our community is that you are not afraid to talk about your wins and celebrate your wins, which I think it's often hard, and we know this, for women to do that. They sort of downplay. And over this last 2 years, I've really seen you lean into the celebrating your big wins, especially this year during the pandemic, when everyone is sort of thinking, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? And it is tough, and we know this, but we have to celebrate our wins. So, and we have, I think you know this, but we have a partnership with La Marca called, and we're celebrating sparkling moments. And where did you get this sort of voice to say, I'm gonna put this out there on social. I'm gonna show my girls, my 2 8-year-old girls, I'm gonna show my community that you can celebrate wins, and we should amplify that.
Yeah, so I think, like, dating back to even my real estate days when I was managing people, you always want to recognize people for, anything that they do, whether it's a small thing, because recognition feels great. And
Yeah.
That's what people love, and that's what makes them happy. And a lot of times in the workplace, people are unhappy because they're not recognized and they feel that they're doing, so much and their boss just doesn't see it, or, they don't even get a thank you.
Yeah.
So just celebrating other people is something that I've always tried to do as a leader. And coming into this business, one of the things that you understand is that social is a platform that you really need to use, and you need to just it's a place for you to be yourself and to be authentic, and people want to see your wins, so they
Yeah.
want to see you doing well. That doesn't mean that you're constantly posturing and bragging. There's a difference between bragging and celebrating. And
Agreed.
you are an honest person, and you also come to the table and say, hey, I'm exhausted this morning because my daughter woke me up at, 4:45. Are there any parents of fur babies or parents whose, creatures come into bed with them? That's also part of it. So I've just, I've actually just become comfortable with being myself, and, celebrating the wins, but also being myself and being real.
You own your story, you own the narrative, and you're not afraid to let people know about that. And I just think that we have to, and there's a comment in the chat, if you don't celebrate yourself, how can you expect others to, by Dina. And I totally agree with that. We can't just wait for others to celebrate our wins. We have to celebrate them. And some of your wins during this pandemic have been quite remarkable, right? That you weren't even, I remember thinking back to March, and everyone's like so worried. And of course, we're still worried. We're business owners, and some are in corporate America. But you really have sort of taken, when some of the recruiting aspect sort of went on the back burner as companies were thinking what they were doing. So with Upward On, but then the Rodan and Field side went like a hockey stick.
Correct. Yeah. So I remember it was the beginning of March. We picked up and we went out to Connecticut to my parents' home. I took my computers, I took all my stuff. I was like, okay, let's see how long this is going to last. And the first few days I was panicked. I mean, I couldn't even think about asking someone to buy an eye cream from me. I just thought it was absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
Um, and and all of my clients completely, my recruitment real estate clients, just kind of closed their doors as we were told to do. So it was funny because in the first few days I was with my kids, and even my ex-husband was with us, and I'm like, okay, parents, I'm going to be teaching an Italian class on Friday. Send your kids to me, I'll babysit them. And I just set up on Zoom and I did an Italian class, and that was like the first couple of days. And while the anxiety was there of what was going to happen, I discovered about myself how resilient I am, and how when the going gets tough, I still want to keep going.
Yeah.
So I did reach out to all of my friends and my clients, my customers, everybody pretty much. And what I was finding was people did not want to go without the things that made them feel good. So
Right.
that meant their routines, their regimens, their feel good products. And our sales, skincare sales, started to go up. And at the same time, there were people that were furloughed, there were people that were home, there were people that were looking for an opportunity. And again, because we were home, shopping didn't stop. People were just online shopping, and this was very important: shirts and your face, and
Yeah.
so our sales went up. I tripled the size of my team, and I rose in rank very quickly within Rodan and Fields. And in a few months, I was at the top level of the company. I had qualified for a trip to San Francisco and Napa Valley, which I, locked in August, and I will be going to in February. So, and now I'm one of the top leaders of the company, and it's amazing to be alongside these women that I've admired for the past 3+ years. So that was just taking, the opportunity that was in front of me and running with it and saying, okay, this is what I've got right now. My recruitment business is I don't like to use words like dead. I like to say things like taking a nap. Um,
Yeah. On
because
pause.
yeah, it's just quiet. It's just quiet. It's okay. It'll be back. It's not going anywhere. 22 years of a history and experience in real estate is not going away. But what I had in front of me, I said, okay, I'm going to run with this, and and I'm so glad that I did, because it really was an amazing learning experience and opportunity for growth for me and for my team.
And for your girls to watch.
Yeah,
So, I've been able to have, they've been at Luminary a couple of times, so I've met them, and they are just so adorable and smart.
thank
So
you.
you've had this great corporate career. You decide, I'm going to do my own thing. It's going to be on my term. And I loved your post the other day. You had the version of you like 10 years ago or more, and the version of you now, and of that commuting, stressed, relatively, mom of toddlers to now, and how even in a pandemic, you've embraced who you are, you own your story, you're authentic, and you're like, I'm going to do this on my terms. But not everybody can get that courage, right? And the whole thing around Goaldigger is, yes, we're out there going after our goals, but did you grow up with this sort of, I don't know if it's your parents or just the way you grew up, of like, you're going after it, you're going to use your voice? I mean, we happen to both share the Italian heritage, right? I think some of that comes from like putting yourself out there, but where did that come from?
It's funny because I look at you and I know that your parents were big supporters, and your dad, and in sports and things like that. I remember you telling me about basketball, right?
Basketball and
So
soccer.
actually, my background was a little bit different. My parents were immigrants and they were business owners, but they weren't very vocal to me about going after your dreams or anything like that. I was a good student, and I just kind of realized that if I did well in school, I would get noticed. And so people were always like, oh, she's so smart. And that's what I really wanted. I wanted some sort of recognition because I was the little one. I had three older brothers, and my voice wasn't very loud. I kind of just did my own thing. So I discovered it, like getting recognized through my achievements was something that made me happy.
Mhm.
And I started to work when I was 14, and I started to save. I was a little saver because I understood that if you had money in the bank, you had options.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what drove me as a kid. And that just pushed me along. I've always had that mentality of do it for yourself, don't lean on anyone else. And even still to this day, it's still what drives me, is just that drive to be self-sufficient, resilient, and live comfortably.
It's interesting that you say about that achievement and recognition. I was talking last week in another session, and that is often what has driven me, right? It was, or whether it was academics or athletics, and then certainly in the corporate world. But now you're an entrepreneur, and you don't necessarily have the boss or the coach or the teacher patting you on the back saying, great job, right? So are you finding that recognition in how you celebrate your wins, right? Like you're like, I don't need everybody else's validation. I'm recognizing myself because that's important to your voice, but also your family, your girls, your community, and certainly the women that, and men that you place, and then also within the Rodan and Fields business.
Right. Yeah, I definitely, which driving me now, definitely are my little girls. I want to create a life of experience for them, and just give them a humble but also rich background. I love to travel. We go on trips. Last year we were in Paris, and we went to Rome, and we went to Sicily. I love that. I love taking them places. And I really want them to understand that whatever they want in life, they have to achieve on their own, and they have to put the work in. So
Yeah.
whether it's, one of my girls is playing soccer and she's 8 and it's not a proper soccer league or anything like that, but the other day she didn't feel like going to practice and I could understand it was kind of dreary. And I said, Anna, if you don't want to go, that's fine, but you're not going to play on Saturday because if you want to play a sport, you have to practice. That's just, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to just teach them these lessons without being, a tiger mom, also instilling those values in them that, they have to be responsible for themselves. They have to pick themselves up. They have to, put in the work and sure, whatever it is that they want, they can achieve, but they have to be responsible for it. No one else is going to give it to them. So I think that's a big part of why I work as hard as I do. I also love what I do. I think it's a lot of fun. It's fun to be in a skincare business because it is really light and uplifting. And I love my recruitment business because I really love helping people along their careers. I mean, you probably saw me interviewing people at Luminary.
Yes.
And I would spend hours with people. And sometimes, the conversation wouldn't really lead to anything in the short term, but I know in the long term it will. Maybe I help that person become a better negotiator. Maybe I help that person, inspire them to go after that dream job that they didn't think that they were qualified for. Or maybe one day in the future, that relationship will come back as a friendship or a future placement. I just placed someone last week, actually, that was from an interview that I had at Luminary 1 year ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's because I take the time to get to know people, and that's important to me. So, sometimes in the short term, it might not seem like a smart move, but I know in the long term, if you're doing the right thing and you're living in integrity and leading with love, that's my philosophy, is just do the right thing, lead with love, and eventually everything will fall into place.
So I want to talk a little bit, as we have a couple minutes left, about the recruiting business, right? And where the market is. I mean, one of the things that people often think of recruitment and recruiters, it's very transactional. And what you just explained is very different than, again, this myth of all recruiters are transactional. You like the Rodan and Fields myth busting. We're myth busting this morning on Friday. But
Put
you're
on my bio,
right.
Mythbuster.
Buster. You're actually looking at it as much more relationship oriented, right? Developing a relationship, getting to know the person, because oftentimes if you do that, I'm sure that that person, wherever you place them, stays for much longer, because you know that it's not just, I'm just going to put this person in this job and then move on. You actually take the time to know if they're going to be the right fit as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very important to me because when someone hires me to recruit for them, I take that very seriously. Recruitment fees are not cheap. It's
Yeah.
expensive to hire me. But the service that one will get when they work with me is really customized. I mean, really bespoke. So I do take the time to vet candidates and meet with them and speak to them, and I learn a lot about them and about their goals and ambitions and their backgrounds and what motivates them and all of that. And I want them to be a long-term hire. I don't want them to come in and within 18 months be gone, because that's a bad investment for my client. And now
Absolutely.
the client is out, a 5-figure sum because there was a placement that was not thoughtful. Now, does that guarantee that everyone that I place is going to be there for 4 or 5 years? No, of course not. But if I take the time to get to know the person, then I'm never trying to sell anyone anything. I'm just really, building those relationships both on the client side and on the candidate side, and then making a good match.
And so, which is so thoughtful, intentional, purposeful, right? The market. You talked about sort of as we hit March and probably later into April, May, as this is dragged on a lot longer than I think any of us had thought or hoped. but companies are out there. And so what do you see in this market for Upward On and as we head into 2021?
I mean, I do see companies starting to hire again. My industry, real estate, is a little tricky because obviously it's one of the industries that got affected the hardest, along with hospitality and tourism. But so the clients that I service, real estate brokerage firms, management companies, developers, they, if I look at the different types of companies that I work with, some of them are being very prudent, very cautious, and not hiring unless they absolutely need to.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this is across many other industries because I talk to so many people in other industries too. A lot of people are taking on the role of 2 and 3 and even 4 people. Yeah. So what they'll do is they'll really try to make do with what they have, the talent that's already there. I spoke to a candidate a few weeks back, and she said to me, I'm really upset because my employer's making me do X, which was not originally on her job description. And I explained the employer side. I said, well, everyone's down, everyone's lost money this year, and he needs to get stuff done, and he's not going to bring someone else on. So I would be, and I'm very direct and transparent in a kind way, but be grateful that you have this job. And, if you care about this job, then you'll do what it takes to make your employer happy and really understand that everyone's making sacrifices right now. Yes. And she didn't want to go into the office, and again, it's real estate. So there needs to be a level of FaceTime too. So I do see employers kind of merging roles, but I actually saw this trend in late 2019. I saw this trend. I saw companies kind of like mixing up a couple of roles into one. So I didn't see this coming. I didn't see the pandemic coming, that's for sure.
No, if anyone's out there, I mean, they should be in every casino gambling, because oh my gosh,
right? I know. I was interviewed back in the last fall by the Man Report, and it came out, I believe, in February or March of this year. And I did say that. They said, what trends do you see? I said, I see that employers are, mixing jobs up, and people have to be open to that. And if not, then go start your own business.
Right. Exactly. Well, I personally, think the world of you, and so happy to have you as part of the Luminary community, but also it's just so incredible to see you surviving and thriving, and also just putting yourself out there, celebrating wins and all of the sparkling moments that you have. And, we are just lucky to have you as part of the Luminary community. But I think more importantly, that you're sharing your story. And I'm so glad that you could do that today on Goaldigger.
Thank you. This was so fun.
Well, hopefully we'll see you soon in the space. Yes. But otherwise, have a wonderful weekend. Everybody listening, watching, even if it's later as you download this, please, as I always say, stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane. And Conchetta, thank you again. Just for everyone that's listening, you can follow Conchetta and any of the things that she's doing in both Upward On, her personal life, and Rodan and Fields at Conchetta Raz, ConcettaRaz. Conchetta, have a great weekend.
Thank you, Kate. You too.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.